Imagine waking up inside the cold stone walls of a medieval castle. The air smells of burning wood, your breath fogs in the morning chill, and today, you are not just anyone. You are a knight. From the moment you were born, your destiny has been shaped by the code of chivalry, by loyalty to your king, and by the weight of iron armor on your shoulders. But what was life really like if you were a knight in the Middle Ages? Let's step into their world, birth to death, and live it together. You weren't born a knight, you had to earn it. At just 7 years old, you would leave home to serve as a page in a noble household. Your days were filled with service, carrying trays, tending stables, learning manners, and practicing with wooden swords. You even learned to read and write, rare skills in the Middle Ages, because one day you would manage estates and enforce justice. By 14, you advanced to the role of squire. Now the real training began. You polished your knight's armor until it gleamed, cared for his warhorse, and followed him into battle. You practiced endlessly with swords, lances, and bows. You rode at full speed, aiming your lance at a rotating target called the quinton, dodging its swinging counterweight. You learned to guide your horse with just your knees, shield in one hand, lance in the other. And when your knight fell wounded, it was your duty to drag him off the battlefield alive. Beyond combat, you studied music, poetry, and courtly manners. You learned falconry, hunting, and the code of chivalry, honor, loyalty, respect for women, and defense of the weak. Every lesson prepared you for the day you would finally win your spurs. Finally, between the ages of 18 and 21, comes the moment you've been preparing for, the dubbing ceremony. The night before, you bathe and spend hours in vigil, praying beside your sword laid upon the altar. On the day itself, every piece of clothing carries meaning. White for purity, scarlet for the blood you are ready to spill, black stockings for the earth to which you will one day return. You kneel before your lord or king. A priest blesses your sword, its two edges symbolizing justice and loyalty. Then comes the accolade, a tap, or sometimes a heavy blow, on your shoulder with the sword. It is said to be the last strike you will ever take without retaliation. Rising to your feet, you receive your gilded spurs, your horse, shield, and banner bearing your coat of arms. And with solemn vows, you swear to serve your king, protect the weak, uphold the faith, and live by the code of chivalry. From this moment forward, you are a knight. Life as a knight was divided between the battlefield and the responsibilities of your estate. You were not only a warrior, you were a landholder, a governor, and a law enforcer. Your fief, granted by your lord, was worked by peasants and serfs, who made up nearly 90% of society. You presided over manorial courts, punishing petty crimes like drunkenness or theft, often collecting fines that added to your wealth. In England, knights even served as sheriffs, coroners, and justices of the peace, enforcing royal law and advising judges. But the cost of being a knight was immense. Your warhorse could equal a year's income, and a suit of Milanese plate armor might take 166 days' wages. Maintenance was constant, polishing, repairing, preparing for battle. Your mornings began before dawn with prayers in the chapel. Breakfast was simple, bread, cheese, and ale. Training filled your day, sword drills, jousting practice, horsemanship. The midday meal was a feast of meats, vegetables, and pastries, shared with family and household knights. Supper was lighter, often accompanied by music and poetry. Evenings brought leisure, chess, falconry, composing verse, or reading from your book of hours. And always, you tended to your beloved warhorse, the companion who carried you through battle. Finally, you retired to your solar, where your wife shared the burdens of life and the quiet moments of peace. On the battlefield, your identity as a knight was defined by the code of chivalry: courage, loyalty, justice, generosity. Courtesy mattered, even in war. You did not strike an enemy's horse. If your opponent fell, you waited for him to remount before continuing the fight. And if he begged for mercy, you spared his life and took him prisoner instead. Training never stopped. Hunting wild boar or stag was seen as the ultimate preparation for war: endurance, fearlessness, and coordination. It forced you to endure hunger, cold, and exhaustion, just as you would in battle. Tournaments were both practice and spectacle. In the early melee, groups of knights charged together, capturing opponents for ransom. Later, jousting became the centerpiece, single combat with lances, blunted for safety but still dangerous. These events were filled with pageantry, costumes, and symbolism, often held to celebrate coronations, marriages, or peace treaties. For the most skilled knights, tournaments brought fame, fortune, and glory. Yet life as a knight was never easy. Average life expectancy in medieval Europe was only 30 to 40 years, dragged down by childhood disease and battlefield wounds. Surviving past 15 gave you a chance to reach old age, but danger was constant. Dysentery, typhoid, malaria, and smallpox stalked the land. And then came the Black Death of 1348, sweeping across Britain, killing nearly half the population. Villages emptied, fields went untilled, and many believed it was God's punishment. Even on the battlefield, the knight's supremacy began to fade. Infantry armed with long pikes could break the cavalry charge. Archers with longbows pierced armor from a distance. And gunpowder weapons delivered the final blow, making even the finest plate armor useless. By the late Middle Ages, knighthood was no longer the backbone of war, but a fading symbol of an older world. Eventually, feudalism itself collapsed. In France, it was abolished in a single night in 1789. In other parts of Europe, remnants lingered for centuries, until the very last feudal regime on the island of Sark was abolished in 2008. The life of a knight mirrored the rise and fall of the feudal age, born into discipline and faith, flourishing in the era of land for service, enduring the brutal realities of war and plague, and finally transforming into a timeless symbol of nobility. Their legacy still captivates us today, reminding us of courage, loyalty, and honor. Would you have survived the life of a knight or thrived in it? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed stepping into the life of a medieval knight, hit that like button, subscribe for more journeys into history, and share this video with someone who loves epic stories. Until next time, live with courage, loyalty, and honor.